Thanks, guys.
Larry, welcome back to Face. How are you, my
Dale,
trading warrior brother? How's it going?
Dale, good morning. Good. How are you doing?
Good to hear your voice, Larry. I want to acknowledge at the beginning of the interview, I was telling the attendees that last time we talked, I always ask people that are bullish, what was their line in the sand? And you said 3,700. And I think we got down to about 3730 during, a correction, just a pullback area, never took out 3,700. So great technical area to keep you long. You laid out your red line, never crossed it. So very good technical call on that, Larry. Want to
Thank you.
acknowledge it.
Thank you,
I
Dale.
bet you didn't think
I
I
appreciate it.
remembered that.
No, I know you remember everything. You're sharp. Nothing gets past you.
All right. So anyway, God, we've had a tremendous rally since that pullback in the market and pushed the 4,200 handle. So if you want to share your screen, the only thing that really keeps coming back to me is uh, like last week, the Nasdaq barely made a new high. I don't know if AD is still not confirming the advanced decline line, and the Russell hasn't made a new high in a long time. Are those flies in the ointment to you at all?
Not really. I think if there was some type of a pullback or a consolidation here, it wouldn't surprise me. And I talked about this over the weekend. The way that these uptrends work is the markets will make a new high, but then they'll pull back and then they make another new high. So, NASDAQ you can see my screen, right?
Yes, got the
So
cues up.
triple Q's had a pretty strong run. So from 310 to 342, I believe, in anticipation of some strong earnings, which came out. And so if there was some back and fill right here, but overall, as I go through, all 11 sectors and I look at these leading stocks, there's a lot of breakouts and a lot of really big stocks that while in the short term, they can always pull back, but longer term, I mean, that triple Q chart is a strong chart.
Okay, yeah, I noticed a tweet by you. I think I retweeted it. Like, you talked about all the constructive things that were happening in the market. Do you remember that tweet?
Sure.
And what were all the things that were going on that when you're a little bit in doubt about how much further the market could go, maybe you could list those things for our viewers and attendees.
The key thing that I see right now is the strong breadth just across the board. On
Okay.
last Thursday, there were 187 large caps that made new highs, and that's the strongest number that I've seen in a long time. But there's a lot of, I mean, if you look across the board, I think 9 of 11 S&P sectors made new highs over the past week and a half or so. So industrials broke out, and metals and mining, XME. I know that's a market that you follow a lot. That broke out. Materials broke out. I mean, if you just go across the board, you can see even real estate. And I don't follow REITs, but real estate's been strong. The key thing is the financials. Even when bond yields pull back, the
Yeah.
financials continue to break out. So just as I go from sector to sector to sector, I just see charts that look like this, strong uptrends breaking out.
Okay, so 37 was your line in the sand. Now, I'm assuming as the market continued to progress and make new highs, do you bring up that area? Would say 4,000 mean something to you, or 3,900 now? Do you move up your line in the sand?
Yeah, 3850 is the key number right now. So as the market's moved up 4,000 in the near term, and I posted when the market broke 4,000, there was no overhead resistance, and we've
Right.
seen the same thing with Ethereum in the past few weeks, 2,000, 2,500, and now 3,000 broke. But once it broke 4,000, it's just kind of, there's been really no trap sellers overhead. But 4,000 in the near term, if there was any meaningful pullback, 3,850 is the number that I would want to see hold.
Okay. Thanks for that number.
Sure.
What are you seeing as far as energy? It's been one of the leaders and continues to be, doesn't it? I mean, it's had one of the best rebounds. That's
Absolutely.
something else breaking out.
Yeah, I'm still long energy. It's the leading S&P sector year to date. I think it's up 30%, 35%, something like that. There's a few charts in the group. So EOG, they've got earnings coming up, but you can see this is pretty solid over 66, right
Yeah.
near a breakout level. Hess reported earnings last week that already started to break out. Diamondback Energy, this has been a strong one. That's, so there's quite a few charts that are right near, right at the high end of their range, that if some good earnings come through, I think they can break out. What I really believe is, I believe that the main driver for energy is going to be 10-year yields, because I've seen a pretty strong correlation between bond yields and energy over the
Okay.
past few years, and I really think that what happens with 10-year yields is going to dictate what happens with energy. But yeah, I'm still
All
long.
right. So say we have one more high in 10-year,
I
and
think
we're not
XOP.
backing up. That would
Yeah,
be bearish
no, that would
for
be
the.
bullish for energy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So
a pullback would be, some of the inflation fears out of the market if we had a pullback.
yeah, and
Like,
I think that's kind of happened, because if you look at when,
right.
so XOP topped out mid-March, near term, and if you take a look at treasury yields, mid to late March. But I think that XOP, if we get the inflation that the market seems to be pricing, and I think energy is going to do good.
How about the semis, Larry? With you have some fundamental issues with them. They came off a little bit last week, lower peak, holding your red moving average there. Let's at the 50-day.
Yeah, the 50-day.
To say if we took out 236, would your view on semis change?
It would a little bit if it took out 236, looking at the chart. But I think what I think you'll see here is, I think that they'll break out to the upside. I'm long in a couple semis, and now semis also had a pretty big run, so 216 to 257. So any consolidation in that mid 230 area would make sense. But I'm still long, and you know what it is once the media started to do these TV shows about the semiconductor issue, is when they started to pull back, which often happens. But what I saw here was money moved into some of the higher beta, like the cloud names, and semis pulled back. But I think the next major move in semis is to the upside.
Okay. Any other sectors or groups that we should be paying attention to? I see one fly in the ointment, and it's not really embraced by the market.
What's that?
I think that we may have had an inflection point in the U.S. dollar, a
Okay.
low put in last week. And do you think the market, if you knew there was going to be, say, euro pulled back to, 115, about 5% or 6% from here, what groups would you be in with a strong dollar? And if I'm right about this, and it's only a bear market rally at this point, what I'm looking for, but 95 in the Dixie, how do you think the market would respond? Would it ignore that, or could that be part of a correction or a risk-off move around the corner? Because the
Normally,
dollar, normally it's more constructive risk-on wise when the dollar's falling.
correct. Yeah, well, because what happens is, because the
The
dollar is the ultimate
multinationals,
safe haven asset. So in
yeah.
times of
Well, I mean,
stress,
how does UUP look to you? I know you look at ETFs as well. Are you
I do. I really don't do anything with the dollar.
okay? See
So
what I
so for
mean?
me, yeah. So for me, from a trend perspective, UUP isn't anything that I would be involved with right here. But it doesn't
Okay,
mean it can't go higher. But I would want to see it. I tend to focus more on the stuff that's trending into the upper right hand corner. So
okay.
there's a lot of things that I'm focused on here. So the banks are very strong, and I've got to say, I'm positioned. I'm more spread out from a sector basis today than I've been, since I can remember. So the banks look good. If you take a look,
What
Freeport.
looks? Nothing looks bad.
Ah, Yeah, you know
Well,
what looks bad is
what?
these spec stocks.
Me on Monday morning, Larry.
Nah, you look great. You sound great. You look
Uh,
great. But you know what looks difficult to me? So these spec stocks,
the
and I think
stay-at-home stocks.
not the ones that aren't profitable. So Teladoc, I think they've lost. They ran up quite a bit, but it started to break down. If you look at these SPACs are great. I think
Oh, specs.
for shorter term traders that
Yeah.
that are good at this. Pharma is a little bit difficult right now. So if you take a look, for example, at Merck, it's a little bit more difficult. But for the most part,
Wow.
I will tell you this. I think I was neutral on these mega caps for, I don't know,
Yeah.
4 or 5 months
They did
now.
nothing.
Yeah, but they've broken
Amazon,
out.
same thing. And
Yeah,
then yeah.
they've broken out, and I think that this breakout, I think that this is the start of a new leg higher. And what I think the market is doing right now is I think it's starting. Once bond yields started to shoot up, these SPACs and these spec stocks they got cut in half. And I think what the market's doing is I think it's rotating into the higher quality names that are making money right now. And these lower valuation tech stocks. I mean, HPQ, this is a stock that nobody talks about, and
Is
it's
it
up about,
Hewlett Packard?
yeah, Hewlett Packard. It's up about 38% year to date. And if you take a look at that uptrend,
It's a
if you
nice,
take,
yeah,
yeah,
nice
if you
trend.
take a look at Dell, these are stocks that nobody's really focused. $75 billion market cap.
They
I
were
mean, these are,
popular stocks 20 years ago.
yeah, this is the revenge of the year 2000. Oracle, even,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
even Cisco,
Interesting.
and Cisco kind of fell off the grid, but Cisco recently broke out to a
Huh.
multi-year high. So what I think you're going to see from the market is I think that it's definitely spreading out, and most of the industry groups that I'm looking at are set up pretty well. Even these travel stocks, if you look at MGM Resort, this is ready to break out, right where it is.
Okay. So, but basically you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that, we're having some success, a lot of success actually with COVID and vaccinations and the opening up trade. And I'm thinking it's going to be a mob scene everywhere this summer from people feeling the
Yeah,
confinement,
from
which makes
just
me
from
want to confine myself again. First it was COVID, now everything's going to be overrun
yeah,
with people.
from talking to my friends there, and even my wife, all they want to do is just travel, travel, travel. And I'm not going to go over the deep end and just travel all the time. But I think there's a lot of pent up demand. People definitely want to get out. But even if you take a look at building materials and the
Oh
home
gosh.
builders,
Yeah.
strong. I mean, this is CMAX, and I talked about this weekend. But this, yeah, I mean, strong uptrend. If you look at something like Carrier, that just started to break out. So really, what my focus is here is spread out. I don't have any giant overweights. Last year, this time last year, I was basically mostly large cap, mega cap tech.
Right.
And
Right.
I really spread out to where I don't have, I've got eggs in a lot of different baskets because I see a lot of different breakouts, and there's some strong charts.
And generally that's interpreted as bullish when it's not just one stock, one group carrying the market.
Right.
Anything overseas that you like?
Um, Off the top of my head, I'm just taking a look at my list. So
Not
a
that you don't
lot,
have enough,
yeah.
things that you
So
like.
a lot of these, I like the industrial metals. So Vale, Rio Tinto, BHP. Those are all pretty strong.
Okay.
In the tech space, in the growth space, I think C is the strongest in the group. The China Internet Group, that's been under a lot of pressure, so it's been kind of tough
Baba.
to
Yeah.
find any. Even JD start to break down, but C has really been the standout. And then yeah, there's a lot of these like Train, that's been strong, in building materials, but it's just really spread out. The European market, I don't focus too much on Europe, but Europe's been strong. The banks were doing pretty well until last week. Barclays got hit, but yeah, I see a lot of uptrends.
So everyone thinking about sell in May and go away. It hasn't worked for years. We have another year where sell in May and go away means that if you do it, the only thing that goes away are your clients.
You know, that's a good point, and it's a good question, and people ask me about it a lot, and I don't buy into any of that stuff, whether it's good or bad, because what I just want to do, I just focus on what the chart's doing right now. And I found that, when people start to buy into whether it's, they should sell it now or they should buy it now, you don't focus as much as what's on the chart. I do think that if the markets pulled back, uh, 3 to 5% at some point wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. But when you look at these charts, I mean, it's hard to argue. Now, if the trends started to roll over, but they're not, they're making higher highs, higher lows. They're above the rising moving averages. So when you see charts like that, it's tough to find a little bit of fault. It's tough to find fault with them over the intermediate term.
Okay, well, some great looks, Larry, and some nice calls. Anything else you want to share with us today before you go to your website and people know how to get a hold of you for individual issues that you're monitoring and recommending?
No, I think that's about it for the most part. Just really, the fact that I'm spread out. I don't make these big calls. Like I'm either 200% long or I'm 100% cash. I just I spread the bets out. I manage my risks and I look for the strongest idea. I do think these FANG stocks. I think this breakout into FANGs is for real. And on any type of pullbacks, I am planning to add to those positions.
Yeah, Google had great earnings. What are we doing? Trying to pull back and test that big day it had. What are the big earnings stories this week? We had Apple last week. Maybe you have any, most people for years, Apple was a core holding. It's been underperforming for a long time. You have any view on it, Larry? You're not long Apple, are you?
I'm not long Apple, and Apple's a solid company. I think the stock will do fine, but it wouldn't be, we can't own everything,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't be my first choice. I think that Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Nvidia, I think have stronger charts. But Apple, like if I held Apple, I wouldn't sell it. But if I had to buy a stock today, it wouldn't be the highest one on the top of my list. I think that Facebook, of all of those big name stocks, I think that Facebook might have the most upside along with Amazon right now.
Okay, the advertising model still generating amazing things for Google and Facebook. And why don't you take us to where people could follow your individual issues and things that you're looking at? There's Amazon. Yeah,
Yeah, and the Amazon, if you look at the Amazon weekly, this right here on Friday, that's
yeah.
an all-time weekly closing high on a lot of volume. So
Going
while there
back
could,
to
yeah, going
last
back,
fall.
yeah, that's a 10-month, a 9 or a 10-month breakout on a
Yeah.
lot of volume in a pretty big stock. So I think that that's definitely a bullish breakout, and I think that's set up pretty well.
All right, Larry. Another great roundup of your work, and the bull market's still on. I know a lot of people. I actually interviewed a guy who thinks we could go to 4,700 before there's any problem in the market, and some of my associates here are saying that we're getting close to where instead of having a correction, we really have a melt up. You think that
That
could happen, and we go parabolic here?
Um, it's I try not to make the big market calls, but I will say
Yeah,
as strong as the breakout's been in the S&P, there's just nothing over the top of it, so
yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay. So Larry Tentarelli, you could find him at LMT 978, right?
Yes, sir.
And here's Larry's website where you could find him.
Yep, bluechipdaily.com, and if you take a look on the top performers page, you can walk through just a ton of market calls I've made for members and trade alerts that we've put out over the past year.
Okay. Any crypto stocks that you're interested in?
Now, I've got some Bitcoin and I've got some Ethereum. That's really all that I follow, and I don't trade them. They're longer term, small positions, just longer term. But as far
Okay.
as the stocks, the crypto stocks, I looked at Coinbase and it could do fine, but I don't have anything there. But I've just got a little bit of Bitcoin and a little bit of Ethereum.
Okay. Well, a little bit is better than none
Oh yeah,
in this environment.
it's gone to be a lot bigger, over the past few
Yeah.
months.
Well, Larry, I want to thank you again, my trading warrior brother, for coming here every 3 months or so and filling us in, and talking about how you're allocating in the markets. And this is the most spread out I've seen you, and it looks like every group is just uh, really the breadth. The breadth is great in the market. I think the only segment of the market where you're not getting great breadth is NASDAQ, isn't it? The advanced decline, is it confirming when we made a high last week? Because I know prior it wasn't. So I'm just curious about the AD before I let you go.
Yeah, under the
NASDAQ.
surface, there's been a little bit of distribution in the
Okay.
NDX, and it's been what I saw in the past week was a lot of money went into the mega caps. And when I look, for example, like at the mid caps,
Yeah.
the mid cap tech charts right now are pretty weak across the board. So there's definitely been some money going into the mega caps over the past week or
Okay.
so.
All right. Well, thanks again, Larry, for taking time out. Have a great week, and I hope all your positions work, and when they don't, you have the money management skill to know where you're going to come out of it, and that's 38.5 in S&Ps. The picture would be changing for Larry Tentarelli.
Dale, thanks a lot. I always appreciate it, my friend.
All right, buddy. Good hunting. Everyone, don't just count your shares, count your blessings, and we'll see you tomorrow for Turnaround Tuesday. Thank you for being with us. Adios. And you could join the team in 20 minutes for the morning edge. Do that.